Hi guys, welcome back to Christy's Book Corner. I'm your host, Christy Mason, and today we're going to continue with Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. We're not quite done the book. We still have some chapters to go through. This is chapter 32. So, chapter 32, back again. Capricorn's village didn't look like a dangerous place on the gray, rainy day when Maggie set eyes on it again. The houses standing among the green hills were a miserable sight, with no ray of sunshine to brighten their rooms. Maggie could hardly believe these same houses had looked so menacing at night of their escape. "Interesting," whispered Finnegan as Basta drove into the parking lot. "Do you know this village is very like one of the setting I thought of for Inkheart? Well, there's no fortress, but the landscape around it similar, and the age of the village would be about right. Did you know that Inkheart is set in the world that not unlike our own medieval times? Of course, I added some things, like fairies and the giants." Maggie wasn't really in listening to them now. She remembered how often their flight from the sheds where Capricorn had held them captive. She had stumbled toward Eleanor's car, and the man had shot at them. She had hoped she would never again have to see this parking lot, and the church, and these hills. "Come on, get a move on," grunted Flatnose, opening the car door. "I expect you remember the way." Oh yes, Maggie could remember, even though it didn't all seem rather different today. Finnegan looked around the gloomy alleys like a tourist staring at windows and open doors, as if he paid more for entry. I know this village," he whispered to Maggie. "I mean, I've heard of it. There's more than one sad story about this place. That earthquake in the last century, and then in the last war there was." "Save your tongue for later, scribbler," Vassar interrupted. I don't like whispering." Finnegan shot him an angry glance, but fell silent and did not utter another sound until they had reached the church. "Well, go on, open the door. What are you waiting for?" growled Flatnose. With Finnegan's help, Maggie opened the heavy wooden door. The cool air that met them smelled as musty as the one day she had entered the church with Mo and Eleanor. Nothing much had changed inside. The red walls looked even more threatening on this overcast day, and the expression on the doll-like face of Capricorn's statue seemed even more malevolent than before, if that were possible. The braziers in which the books had been burnt still stood in the same place, but there was no sign of Capricorn's chair at the top of the steps. Two of his men were just carrying a new chair up them. The old woman, who looked like a magpie and whom Maggie didn't really like to remember, was standing beside them, impatiently giving directions. Basta pushed aside two women who were kneeling in the middle of the nave, cleaning the floor, and stood toward the altar steps. "Where's Capricorn? Myrtola," he called to the old woman as he approached. "I have news for him. Important news." The old woman didn't even turn toward him. "Farther to the right, you fools," she ordered to the two men who were still struggling with the heavy armchair. "Yes, there, that'll do." Then she turned toward Basta, her face expressionless. "We expected you back before this," she said. "What do you mean?" Basta had raised his voice, but Maggie caught the uncertainty and revealed. It sounded almost as if he were afraid of the old woman. "Do you know how many villages there are down this damned coast? And we weren't even sure whether Silverton was still in the area, but I can rely on my nose. And as you see," he said, nodding in Maggie's direction, "I've done the job." "You have?" The magpie looked past Basta to where Maggie and Finnegan were standing with Flatnose. "All I see is the girl and an old man. Where's her father?" "He wasn't there, but he'll come after her. The girl's like best bait we could have, And how will he know she's here? I left him a message. Since when can you write? Maggie saw Basset's shoulders tense with anger. I left him my name. He won't need more than that to know where to find his precious little daughter. Tell Capricorn I'm shutting her in one of the cages. With those words, he turned on his heels and stalked back to Maggie and Finagolo. Capricorn's not here, and I don't know when he'll be back. Mortella called after him, but I'm in charge until then, and in my view you haven't been doing your job recently as well as we expected. Bassus swung around as if he had been on the back of the neck, but Mortella continued unmoved. First you let Duskfinger steal a set of keys from you, then you lose our dogs, and we have to send a search party out into the mountains for you, and now this. Give me your keys. The magpie put out her hand. What? Basta went white like a little boy being pushed in front of the whole class. You heard. I'm going to look after them. The keys to the cages, the crypt, and the fuel stores. Bring them here. Basta didn't move. You're not right to them, he snapped. Capricorn gave them to me. He said the only one who could take them away again. He turned around once more, and so he will, Mortella called after him, and he'll expect your report as soon as he gets back. Maybe he'll understand better than I do why you didn't bring Silvertongue. Basta did not reply. Seizing Maggie and Finagolo by the arms, he held them toward the church door. Mortella, the magpie, called something after him, but Maggie couldn't make out what it was, and Basta did not turn back this time. He locked her and Finagolo in the shed marked number 5, the one where Farid had been imprisoned. Okay, you can wait here till your father arrives, he said, before pushing Maggie inside. She felt as if this were a nightmare and she was dreaming it all over again. Only here there wasn't even musty straw in it to sit on, and the light bulb hanging from the ceiling didn't work, although a little daylight did come in through a narrow hole in the wall. Oh, wonderful, said Finagolo, sitting down on the cold floor with a sigh. A crowdish, how imaginative. I really had expected Capricorn to at least have a proper dungeon for his prisoners. Cowshed. Maggie leaned her back against the wall. She heard the rain pattering against the locked door. Well, yes. What did you think it was? They always built houses like this in the old days. Room for the livestock on the ground floor, and living quarters for their families above. They still keep their goats and donkeys like that in many mountain villages. Haven't you noticed then when they driven the animals out to the pasture in the morning they are steamed heaps of dung left flying in the streets? Then you tread them when you go to buy your breakfast rolls? Finagolo plucked a hair from one nostril, looked at it as if he couldn't believe anything quite so bristly grew in his nose, and flicked it away. This is really rather uncanny, he murmured. That's exactly how I imagined Capricorn's mother. That nose, the eyes set close together, even the way she folds her arms, and her chin juts forward. Maggie looked at him ridiculously. Capricorn's mother? The magpie? Magpie, is that what you call her? Finnegan laughed softly. She was exactly the same nickname in the story. How amazing. Be careful of her. She's not a very pleasant character. I thought she was his housekeeper. That's probably what you're supposed to think. So keep our little secret to yourself for now, all right? Maggie agreed, although she didn't really understand did it matter who the old woman was. It all came to the same thing. This time there was no Dustfinger to open the door in the night. It had all been for nothing, as if they had never run away at all. She went over to the locked door and pressed her hands against it. "He'll come," she whispered. "Mo will come, and they'll lock us up here forever and ever." Finnegan got up and went over to her. "There, there," he said, putting his arm around her and letting her bury her face in his jacket. It was made of rough fabric and smelled of pipe tobacco. "I'll think of something," he whispered to Maggie. "After all, I invented these villains. It'll be an odd thing if I can't get rid of them. Your father had an idea, but Maggie..." Your father had an idea, but Maggie raised her face with wet tears and looked at him hopefully, but the old man shook his head. "Later. Now, tell me, what makes Capricorn so interested in your father? Is it something to do with the way he reads aloud?" Maggie nodded and wiped his tears from her eyes. "He wanted Mo to read aloud to him here, to bring someone out of the book, an old friend." Finnegan gave her a handkerchief. A few crumbs of tobacco fell from it when she blew her nose. "A friend. Capricorn has no friends." The old man frowned. Then Maggie felt him suddenly take a deep breath. "Who is it?" she asked, but Finnegan just mopped a tear off her cheek. "Someone I hope you'll never meet between the covers of the book," he said evasively. Then he turned and began pacing up and down. "Capricorn will be back soon," he added. "I must think of how best to confront him." But Capricorn did not come. Darkness fell outside, and still no one had fetched them from their prison. They weren't even brought anything to eat. It grew cold when the night air came in through the hole in the wall, and they huddled in side by side on the hard floor to keep warm. "Is Basso still very superstitious?" Finnegan asked at some point in the night. "Yes, very," replied Maggie. "Jasper likes taunting him about it." "Good," murmured Finnegan, but he would say no more. That's the end of chapter 32. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Please subscribe, comment, and like. Tell me what you think about this chapter. And how do you like Finnegan? Like, what's his idea? What do you think his idea is to confront Capricorn? Don't forget to click the notifications bell to be notified when I upload another video. And I will see you next time. Remember to dare to dream, guys.